Myślą o nas, polskich dzieciach, młodzieży i studentach. Polska Credit Union Świętego Stanisława i Świętego Kazimierza oferuje konta bankowe CYS bez opłat i limitów. Free and unlimited. Każdy, kto otworzy nowe konto CYS, automatycznie bierze udział w losowaniu $1000. Za rekomendację wylosować można 4 nagrody po $250. Informacje w oddziałach Credit Union lub na stronie internetowej www.polco.com.
Chcesz uwolnić się od myśli? Spakuj i wyślij.
Jeśli lecisz do Polski, planujesz wakacje na słonecznym południu lub wycieczkę pielgrzymkę do Ziemi Świętej, Włoch, Meksyku czy innych zakątków świata, zadzwoń do Queen Serena Travel. Tylko u nas super ceny i profesjonalna obsługa. Nasza dewiza to zadowolony klient.
Polimex jedzie. Polimex leci. Polimex płynie. I doręcza paczki rodzinie. Hurra!
Polska Credit Union Świętego Stanisława i Świętego Kazimierza zachęca Państwa do oszczędzania pieniędzy.
Obecnie w Credit Union można otrzymać specjalne wyższe oprocentowania
Na gwarantowane lokaty GIC
i na konta zwolnione z podatku dochodowego.
Tax Free Savings Account.
Specjalne oprocentowania dotyczą terminów 3-letnich.
Dochód w pełni zagwarantowany.
O szczegóły prosimy pytać w oddziałach lub w call center 1 888 558 5506. Zapraszamy.
Trzydziestego listopada Parlament Federalny w Ottawie uchwalił ustanowienie Dnia Pamięci Ofiar nazistowskich i komunistycznych reżimów. Tak zwany Dzień Czarnej Wstążki obchodzony będzie każdego 23 sierpnia w rocznicę zawarcia paktu Ribbentrop-Mołotow ustalającego podział Europy przez nazistowskie Niemcy i sowiecką Rosję. Oto wystąpienie posła Partii Liberalnej Boba Reya zgłaszającego wniosek w tej sprawie uzgodniony wcześniej ze wszystkimi partiami zasiadającymi w parlamencie.
Mr. Speaker, there have been discussions, as they say, among the parties, and I think you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. Whereas the Government of Canada has actively advocated for and continues to support the principles enshrined by the United Nations Universal Declaration on Human Rights and the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 263A of 9 December 1948, whereas the extreme forms of totalitarian rule practiced by the Nazi and communist dictatorships led to premeditated and vast crimes committed against millions of human beings and their basic inalienable rights on a scale unseen before in history, whereas hundreds of thousands of human beings fleeing the Nazi and Soviet communist crimes sought and found refuge in Canada, whereas the millions of Canadians of Eastern and Central European descent whose families have been directly affected by Nazi and or communist crimes have made unique and significant cultural, economic, social, and other contributions to help build the Canada we know today. And whereas 20 years after the fall of the totalitarian communist regimes in Europe, knowledge among Canadians about the totalitarian regimes which terrorized their fellow citizens in Central and Eastern Europe for more than 40 years in the form of systematic and ruthless military, economic, and political repression of the people by means of arbitrary executions, mass arrests, deportations, the suppression of free expression, private property, and civil society, and the destruction of cultural and moral identity, and which deprived the vast majority of the peoples of Central and Eastern Europe of their basic human rights and dignity, separating them from the democratic world by means of the Iron Curtain and the Berlin Wall, is still alarmingly superficial and inadequate. And whereas Canadians were instrumental during the 1980s in raising global awareness of crimes committed by European totalitarian Nazi and communist regimes by founding an annual Black Ribbon Day on August the 23rd, to commemorate the legal partnership of these two regimes through the infamous Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and its secret protocols. Be it resolved, Mr. Speaker, that every victim of any totalitarian regime has the same human dignity and deserves justice, remembrance, and recognition by the Parliament and the Government of Canada in efforts to ensure that such crimes and events are never again repeated. Be it further resolved that the Parliament and the Government of Canada unequivocally condemn the crimes against humanity committed by totalitarian, Nazi, and communist regimes, and offer the victims of these crimes and their family members sympathy, understanding, and recognition for their suffering. And be it further resolved that the Government of Canada establish an annual Canadian Day of Remembrance for the victims of Nazi and Soviet communist regimes on August the 23rd, to be called Black Ribbon Day, to coincide with the anniversary of the signing of the infamous pact between the Soviet and Nazi regimes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Does the honourable member for Toronto Centre have the unanimous consent of the House to propose this motion? Yes. Agreed? La Chambre l'a entendu. Plaît-il à la Chambre de l'adopter? Oui. D'accord? Adopté.